And we just saw you in action there oversighting the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike. How much of a challenge is that for you? Because he's known to be quite a bullish character, isn't he?
Well, so far I've found him to be quite gentle. I mean, that's what he believes in. You have to understand that, as I keep saying, he wasn't elected by the people. He's accountable only to the president. Whereas for me, it's not that way. That's number one. Two, we don't know each other very well. We've met once, maybe twice. In fact, I think the only time we met was at that encounter when he came to get his supplemental budget passed. But actually, I think that once we understand each other better, that we can actually work well together, with him focusing on just what he thinks the president wants, and me working with the people, which also works for the president, because the president was also elected by the people. So I am looking forward to working with him, and let's see how things progress. Maybe his, what's his word I'm looking for? Gumption as opposed to bullishness might have its uses as we go along, because some of the things that need doing, even for the people, needs a bold minister.
But it also needs a bold senator.
Well, I try to do my best.
Yeah, well, I mean, you told Mr. Wike, without banging on about this, you told him in no uncertain terms that you think his priorities are not people-friendly. You cited the question of the buses, for instance, and the mass transit scheme for Abuja. You also criticized the idea of constructing a Millennium and Cultural Center. What are the issues there for you?
Well, I think to complete that Millennium Center would cost us 72 billion. I think that was about the number he told us. Insecurity is a major challenge in the FCT. I think a lot of resources needs to be channeled there. Right now, people are getting kidnapped in Asokoro, Maitama, across the road, not too far from where the embassies are, and even from where I live. It's not just in the outskirts of Abuja anymore. That's number one. So until we all feel secure, everything else doesn't make sense. Abuja also has a problem with water, light, healthcare, schools. And so I think that 72 billion will go a long way to getting some of those people problems ameliorated.
Yeah, that's a good point, and a lot of people might agree with that. Although he argued that you can't allow projects that have already been awarded by previous governments and billions spent on them to be abandoned. But with regard to mass transit, for example,
I'm not wanting him to abandon it.
Right.
I agree with him. He does have a point. We already started building it. I just think that we can postpone the completion.
Or spread it out over a longer period.
So when we are stronger and more liquid as a nation, then we can do those things. I mean, a cultural center is a laudable idea, really, but we have more pressing issues.
Yes, and with regard to mass transit, he agreed with you
Yes, he did.
about concessioning and public-private partnership and all the rest of it, but he felt that should be in the medium term. In the short term, he felt that the government had to do something to alleviate the suffering of the masses by providing buses that would later become part of that concessioning.
And I agreed with him completely on that. He wants to solve an immediate problem of zero public transportation. And I saw his point. If he can fix the buses and add a few more and get people moving around until we can do something permanent, then fine. I didn't argue with him on that one anymore.
Now, before the elections, you reportedly pledged your basic salary, if you should win, to a special fund to tackle infrastructural deficits in the rural communities within Abuja. Is your salary still going to that fund? If so, what difference has that fund made? Or is it proposing to make?
Well, you know, people are under the misconception that a senator earns the basic salary of a senator is a lot. Really is not as much, but so far I've been a senator. In the next week or two, it would be maybe 6 months, because there's such intense poverty out there. A lot of it goes for palliatives. Oh, I have no food, I need to do this. So a lot of that goes there. But that notwithstanding, I'm in the process of trying to buy a rig so that some of those infrastructural processes you're talking about, I'm looking to see if in partnership with some donor agencies, I can get a grader so that some short rural roads,
Right.
it will make a little bit of a difference. So yes, it's not, I leave the bigger ones to the minister to do in terms of infrastructure. I'm just trying to do the little ones that would make a difference. For instance, yesterday they brought to my attention certain things, like there are many manual boreholes especially in Abuja South, that they're there, but they're not working because they just need a little fixing. 100,000 naira here, 200,000 naira there, and several of them would work. Of course, the water board of Kwali that's not working, that is one of the things I'm hoping to discuss with him and see if he can get the water board working, because if he did, it means the whole of Kwali town would then benefit from it. So you're trying to see the kind of cooperation.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that.
So basically, you guys have to be on the best of terms.
No, I think eventually we would be.
Right.
I'm hoping that we would be.
But I mean, you were talking about the salary, which you said is not as big as people think it is. I mean, I guess people think of the whole package, which includes the allowances that you also get. So you keep the allowances, but you give up the salary.
No, mostly, even with my allowances, some of them, it comes to like, I would say 1.4 million or something. People are looking at maybe running costs for the senatorial offices, things like that. Maybe that's what they think is what the senator earns. But what the senator actually earns, you will see today some woman will come to you crying, she can't afford her diabetic drugs. This one, 50K here, 100K here, 200K here, 500K there.
Before you know it, it's all
sort of gone.
Yeah. Well, what about the SUVs that the National Assembly... You knew I had to come to that, didn't you? The SUVs that the National Assembly is giving to lawmakers at a cost of, because here you are complaining about the Millennium Center, that is, they're going to spend 72 billion, but those SUVs are going to cost billions of naira as well. I mean, do you agree with that expense, and are you going to collect yours?
Well, the Senate says that they're utility cars. They don't belong to us. They actually belong to the Senate. That's number one. Number two, I think...
But it's still a lot of money, isn't it?
Yes, but they were already bought before we became senators. That's the truth. When I was on channels the other day, I did say that...
Right.
I think that going forward, maybe this 10th Senate might opt to buy cheaper cars or cars made in Nigeria or whatever. I don't know. But you can hold us responsible for the cars that the 11th Assembly rides, but the one from this that we got were purchased and sorted out by the 9th Assembly.
Right, so it had already been purchased, because the impression that everyone had was that it was coming up.
That's not true. It had already been purchased, and the only thing that's being done is they're being distributed.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is that I suppose more attention is being paid to these things because the people, as a nation, I wouldn't say we're poorer, not really, but the bulk of the people are poorer. And so they pay more attention to these things. But every National Assembly has always provided utility cars for the senators, just like ministries. I think that actually the cars that are provided for ministers, if it's true that they buy 4 cars per minister, too many cars. So some things can be cut down. And even if you don't cut them down, let our auto industry grow.
Yeah,
by
obviously.
virtue
I mean,
of
that makes sense. That's what people are saying. If you're going to buy cars, buy the ones that are made in Nigeria.
I agree with you totally on that score.
What lessons have you drawn so far? I mean, from your experience as a senator of the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja. You've been in the job now for 6 months, you said.
Well, the first lesson I've learned is that when you're on the outside, it's easy to criticize the people on the inside. Things are not as easy to do when you're actually the one trying to do it. That's the first lesson that I've learned. So it's no matter how much good intentions you have, you have to work with the whole system.
Yeah.
So it's not just one part of the governance of the country, it's everything. So that's one of the lessons I've learned. The other lesson I've also learned is that when you're outside, they tell you senators don't do anything. They're just idle people. That's not true. As a new senator, I'm sure I'll settle down and know how to manage my time and everything. But I find that I work all the time and I'm constantly tired, and senators do a lot of work.
And in fairness to what you're saying, you're coming straight from a committee meeting where basically you've been there all day.
Yes, I
And
have.
you've come to the studio straight in.
And I wasn't alone. There are lots of senators who were there going from one committee meeting, they read a lot of stuff, write a lot of things. So, and I said to somebody, why did you tell me the senators are idle people that don't do anything? They're overworked.
But you look like you're having fun, though.
Well, it's interesting, and I'm hopeful that out of all that hard work will come the satisfaction of changing and impacting positively on the lives of the people of FCT specifically and Nigerians generally.
And is it difficult being a member of the opposition in the National Assembly for you?
Not really. The truth is that once you are in the chambers, the only way I really notice that I'm in opposition is just the side of the house that you're sitting on. There's a lot of camaraderie between us all, and no, it impacts very, very little. Maybe slightly in terms of what committees you're given, but not really. Not really. I find that after a while, your party only matters to you and your party members. It doesn't feature greatly within the Senate.
And now that you are in government, albeit the legislative arm, and you have the task of oversighting the executive arm, I mean, are you getting a better sense of how dysfunctional government in this country is?
Very, yes, I am. You think, oh, just let me get there and I'm going to fix everything. It's not so simple. I'm sure that even the president, when he was getting, when he was running and thinking, oh, I want to be president of Nigeria so I can fix everything, he's probably just as shocked as I am that, oh no, it's not as fixable as I thought. And that runs through all arms of government. So, I mean, I can't speak for the judiciary, but I think both the executive and the legislative arm, it's a bit difficult.